health. President Biden calls out former President Donald Trump for his failure with COVID-19 vaccines. And in sports, see how masks are affecting volleyball matches in the MAC. All this and more coming up right now on Newswatch. Good evening, I'm Anna Azalian, and welcome to Newswatch, your source for all news impacting southeastern Ohio. Ohio University is testing asymptomatic students for COVID-19 through a saliva test. WOUB reporter Delaney Ruth talked to Dr. Jillian Ice and a student about how the process works.
The Vault Health Testing Center at Ohio University tests hundreds of students a day. It is meant to find students who have the virus but are asymptomatic and get them into quarantine before they infect others.
Students living on campus are tested every week, and those living off campus are tested bi-weekly. But what really happens when you walk in this door?
Ben Doctors is a sophomore who is tested weekly.
And then we go and spit in a little tube, sign in on our phones, like match the barcode, and spit, and it usually takes a bit because they require a lot of spit. And then fill out the questionnaire and then go drop the tube in and sign out, and that's basically it.
Students receive an email the day after their test saying the lab has received their spit sample, and within 48 hours, they know if they are negative or positive for the virus.
It is the most reliable and accurate test available.
Dr. Ice encouraged students in a January email to get tested at the same time each week so it can become a part of their routine.
We're using a scheduler that you can actually schedule all the way out until the end of the semester. You can do repeated appointments.
But it seems some students missed this link because it was buried in the middle of the email. Doctor says that he gets multiple emails a day from OU, and it can be hard for him to tell which ones have important information. He didn't even know about the scheduling email from Dr. Ice.
Yeah, the communication isn't very good with that. We should get weekly reminders telling us to go get tested.
Doctor says about once a week, he and his friends just walk over to the testing center without an appointment. Communication issues aside, Doctor says that the testing process is fairly simple, and he will continue to go weekly without an appointment for the rest of the semester.
Thanks, Delaney. Black residents in Athens are coming together to meet other people of color in the area. At an event in 2020, Dr. J.W. Smith found he didn't know many other people of color in the room, so he decided to organize a Black Summit. The event took place on Zoom last night, and people who attended were sharing their emails so they could connect with other people of color in Athens, and some are starting to discuss starting an NAACP chapter.
Hope they walk away with knowing somebody or something they didn't know about the Black community here in Athens. I hope they walk away with the event of knowing that Athens is really on a good track toward a good community of social justice and racial equity, and how they can help to push it over the edge. And I hope they walk away with the idea of this is a start of the conversation.
Organizers say they hope to continue the Black Summit. They're hoping to have 3 every year. Athens Area State Representative Jay Edwards is working to change the funding system for county jails. He introduced House Bill 101 earlier this week. A release from the Ohio House of Representatives says the funding will be similar to school funding. If passed, the bill would allow Ohio Facilities Construction Commission to work with the Ohio Department of Correction to develop the funding formula. The formula will rank counties and award them funds based on need. The OFCC and the ODC will work directly with counties to find the best possible solution. It would be funded through the state capital budget, and the bill has yet to be assigned to a House committee.
Good evening, I'm your forecaster, Benjamin Byers. Let's take a look up at what's up ahead in Athens. There will be a slight warm up, not too much, but in the temperature highs, we will see a difference, but in the lows, it will still be cold. There is still possible rain and snow showers ahead. but the clouds will remain throughout the week. So still do not forget that it will still be cold, and if you're going outside, please make sure to bundle up. Right now in Athens, 24 degrees. It will be cloudy. It is cloudy, I apologize, and it feels like 17 degrees. So definitely very cold, and winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. So the winds really aren't what is causing that cold. It is. And then here, take a look at the big temperature map. Right now, 23 in Cambridge, 23 in Newark, 24 in Columbus, 25 in Chillicothe, 26 in Athens, 26 in Ripley, 26 in Marietta, and 25 in New Martinsville. And overall, all cloudy throughout the area.
Two more Ohioans are facing federal charges for participating in the Capitol riot on January 6th. 60-year-old Sandra Parker and 70-year-old Benny Parker, a married couple from Warren County, attended the riots as part of a group of Oath Keepers. According to investigators, the Oath Keepers are a large but loosely organized coalition of militia. They're facing multiple charges including conspiracy, destruction of government property, and obstruction of an official proceeding. The couple were released without bond after appearing virtually in a Cincinnati court on Thursday. And a former Cleveland police officer is facing theft charges. 24-year-old Tyra Parker was arrested Thursday for stealing $200,000 from an ATM company where she worked. She's being charged with felony theft, falsifying a police report, and obstructing justice. Authorities believe the theft is also tied to a double homicide, but they say Parker has not been charged in the deaths of two people who were both shot to death on Sunday. And a Kentucky police officer has been fired for giving information about the department he worked for to Black Lives Matter protesters. Officials in Lexington announced Jervis Middleton has been fired after a 9-hour hearing and more than 2 hours of deliberation. Middleton argued against his termination. He says the information he provided did not jeopardize safety. Police Chief Lawrence Weathers testified against Middleton, and he argued that he did put officers in jeopardy. He also said Middleton had just recently been demoted over an unrelated complaint. Middleton, who is Black, expressed frustration with what he saw as ongoing racial discrimination in the Lexington police force. However, Weathers, who is also Black, said race was not a factor in Middleton's dismissal. And following the controversial death of Breonna Taylor in March of 2020, Andy Bashir has come forward about how Kentucky police plan to move forward.
We have, with the Kentucky State Police and other law enforcement across the across Kentucky, done a deep dive into training, and we have altered that training, and we've discovered some other things in that training that are not okay, and we're working to rectify that. We brought in community partners from our minority communities, from our Jewish communities, to make sure that that we recognize each and every issue that's out there.
Bashir also says the steps the state is taking are good, but a lot more still needs to be done. He says this includes addressing systematic racism in all its various forms. Hear Biden's thoughts on Donald Trump's perceived vaccination failure and the details of the massive COVID relief bill set to be brought to the House floor. These stories and more when Newswatch returns. President Joe Biden toured a state-of-the-art coronavirus vaccine plant Friday. Extreme winter weather caused his vaccination campaign its first major step back. During his visit, he took time to speak with some of the workers while also criticizing his predecessor's handling of the pandemic.
Just over 4 weeks ago, America had no real plan to vaccinate most of the country. My predecessor, as my mother would say, God love him, failed to order enough vaccines, failed to mobilize the effort to administer the shots, failed to set up vaccine centers. That changed the moment we took office.
Biden also said he doesn't know when the COVID-19 crisis will end.
I can't give you a date when this crisis will end, but I can tell you we're doing everything possible to have that day come sooner rather than later.
Biden's COVID-19 relief package is expected to be on the House floor late this week. The $1.9 trillion stimulus will be presented on the floor with its key components intact. This includes the $15 an hour minimum wage and a one-time payment of $1,400 to Americans making $75,000 or less a year. The relief package also includes a $400 increase to weekly federal unemployment benefits, additional money for struggling small businesses, and efforts for schools to reopen. Biden said the quicker the legislation is passed, the more lives can be saved and the faster the economy will recover.
How much?
As temperatures begin to rise and the ice begins to melt in Texas, see how the state is preparing to handle an entirely new crisis. That story is still ahead.
How much of a warm-up can we expect to see? Find out next in my full weather forecast. But first, let's take a look at stocks of local interest.
We're heading toward the ground at race car speeds.
A planet millions of miles away.
We get one chance, we have no opportunity to fix it, and it has to work the very first time.
A mission to answer the ultimate question.
You want to have a nice, pristine sample without any earth contamination.
Are we alone?
The payoff is we could maybe bring back fossil Martian cells.
Looking for life on Mars, on Nova.
I hate the myth of Hemingway. It obscures the man.
His talent is stunning.
He went against the grain.
It's hard to imagine a writer who hasn't been influenced by him.
In order to have something new to write, he had to have something new to live.
And he fell in love quite a few times.
He's complex and deeply flawed, but there he is.
Hemingway, the man, is much more interesting than the myth.
Hemingway starts Monday, April 5th at 8/7 Central, only on PBS.
Next time on Antiques Roadshow Vintage Spokane, Hour 1. We take a look back to revisit some of our favorite treasures from the Pacific Northwest.
There's nothing wrong with this piece at all. It's absolutely beautiful.
Well, that's very nice.
Holy Toledo! Woohoo! Find out which values have held strong and which have headed south. Next time on Antiques Roadshow Vintage Spokane, Hour 1.
We badger people, ferret out the enemy, weasel out of things. Members of the weasel family are often portrayed as villains. But do they deserve this reputation? Now, with groundbreaking science.
It's as though you have an animal in liquid form.
And by following the wild stoat family, we'll step into the world of weasels.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at, there will be a warm-up in our forecast. Not too much of a warm-up, sadly though, only to the 50s and 40s, but and the lows will stay low in the 30s. But right now in Athens, 24 degrees, cloudy, it feels like 17 degrees, and winds not too strong, only 5 to 10 miles per hour, so that's not really causing the cold. but still, if you're going out, please bundle up. Big temperature map right now, 23 in Newark, 24 in Columbus, 21 in Lexington, 23 in Cambridge, 25 in New Martinsville, 26 in Marietta, and 26 in Ripley. So overall, all below 30 degrees and cloudy in some areas. But farther to the west, we can see a little bit of sun peeking out from the clouds, but overall still a cloudy and cold day. Let's take the U.S. temperature map right now. As we can see, those cold temperatures really reaching into the southern regions of the United States, and we can see us in the colder regions even. And tonight in Athens, 9 degrees, cloudy, humidity 81%, and winds just like right now, 5 to 10 miles per hour. So it definitely will get colder. Make sure to plan ahead if you're headed out tonight at all. Hour by hour for Athens, 8 p.m. 22 degrees, 10 p.m. 20 degrees, and 12 a.m. 17 degrees. So it'll just get colder throughout the night with those clouds still lingering in, but luckily we will not have to worry about precipitation tonight. Big temperature map tonight, 6 in Cambridge, 8 in New Lexington, 7 in Newark, 7 in Columbus. So overall, extremely cold temperatures throughout our area. A weather statement for tonight and tomorrow: Columbus, Chillicothe, and Newark, wind chill temperatures will reach below 0 until Saturday morning. So make sure to plan ahead and to stay warm if you're headed outside. Saturday in Athens, 28 degrees. It will be cloudy in the morning, but clouds will get clear, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Hour by hour, 2 a.m., 14 degrees, 4 a.m., 11 degrees, 6 a.m., 10 degrees. And the big temperature map for Saturday, 25 in Cambridge and 25 in Newark. So overall, still below 30. For Saturday, 28, Sunday, 41, Monday, 38. And here's where we can see a little bit of a warm-up. Tuesday, 48, Wednesday, 56, Thursday, 43, and Friday, 40. But Friday, we can see a chance of some snow showers. And Monday, we have an 82% chance of rain. And the lows still very cold, but as you can see, there will still be a warm-up on Wednesday with 56 degrees. And back to you, Anna.
Thanks, Benjamin. After coping with the fallout of a devastating winter storm, the temperatures in the state of Texas are expected to rise this weekend, with power coming back online. But now the state faces a new crisis with its water supply. Camila Bernal is in Dallas with the latest.
The majority of Texans have their power restored, but many are still in survival mode, mainly because they're low on water and low on food. As power is slowly restored across Texas, new crises are emerging.
Our house is basically destroyed.
We are boiling bathtub water.
Nearly half the state's population is under a boil water advisory. Overwhelmed water systems and leaking pipes pushing supplies to the brink.
The gravity of the situation becomes more apparent by the minute.
Food and fuel also in increasingly short supply.
Everything is gone.
There's no propane in the area to be found.
Many are losing patience.
Every Texan's blood should be boiling.
Facing backlash, Governor Greg Abbott says he takes responsibility for the failure of the state's utilities.
I'm taking responsibility for the current status of ERCOT. Again, I find what has happened unacceptable.
The Electric Reliability Council of Texas, charged with maintaining the grid for 90% of the state, is also under fire. The CEO says they narrowly avoided catastrophe.
We got to a point where we weren't going to be able to serve the demand, and we had to ask for outages that unfortunately had to stay in place for days until we could stabilize the system.
But the crisis is shining a light on the impact of extreme weather events and climate change on critical infrastructure in Texas and around the country.
It's very clear, in some cases crushingly and bluntly made clear by things like what Texans are suffering through this week, that America cannot wait any longer, that we can't afford not to act.
And state officials are also hoping to distribute food, water, and a generator for several people all across the state who desperately need it. In Houston, Texas, I'm Daryl Forges.
As the state of Texas continues to suffer because of the severe winter weather, President Joe Biden is preparing to sign a major disaster declaration.
Hello, I am Jacob Murray, and coming up on Newswatch, we have a look at how the Ohio women's volleyball team is adjusting to wearing masks during their matches. Also, an update on the past week in Ohio athletics. But first, here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
All you have to do is write one true sentence. Write the truest sentence that you know.
We've been thinking about Hemingway for literally decades. You have someone who is often considered the greatest American novelist and has an outsized life.
It's hard to think of a subject that's more iconic than Ernest Hemingway.
Within a few sentences of reading a Hemingway story, you were not in any confusion as to who had written it.
Hemingway can be read as he wanted it to be by ordinary folks, and yet beneath it is as deep an exploration of art and the human experiences that is just miraculous to me.
He was always questing. The perfect line had not happened yet. It was always a struggle, trying to get it right, and you never will.
He's this big game hunter. He's a deep-sea fisherman. He's this lover. He's a man's man. And all of that was true, but it wasn't completely true.
The way into understanding him is through his relationships with the women in his life. His mother, his sisters, and then the 4 women who he married in succession over the next 40 years of his life.
Ernest and I, really, are afraid of each other, each one knowing that the other is the most violent person either one knows.
In working on the film and delving more deeply into his demons and his struggles, how much his work mattered to him, I came to have a much deeper appreciation for the real Ernest Hemingway.
Finding out more about him was revelatory and shocking, and at some point, you just kind of had to check everything you thought you believed and begin again. We were just not prepared for how complex the story was going to be.
Hello, welcome back. I am Jacob Murray. The Mid-American Conference decided to require all volleyball players to wear masks during competition this season. Michael Roth has more on this regulation.
One thing you'll notice when watching a MAC volleyball game this season, all of the players are wearing masks during competition. This was something that took some getting used to.
It was really, really weird. We're like, oh my goodness, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do this. Just because it gets so hot and they get so sweaty.
Despite wearing masks since the Bobcats resume practice in the summer, they still have to make sure it's covering their mouth and noses at all times.
The hardest part is keeping them over our noses. I noticed in mine, especially with a lot of the pictures, has been my nose is out all the time, and just like public relations issues, it's like, okay, we're playing in mask, so you gotta play in the mask.
Not only do the masks help slow the spread of COVID, but also allow the Bobcats to be required to test less frequently.
This means that we only have to test twice every other week per person instead of everybody testing 3 times per week. And whether that means there's cost savings or whether that means that's 4 less times over 2 weeks that a person has to get up early and be over here at the combo at 7 a.m. or whatever time for the testing, all those things are positive.
To make this season happen, the players have had to make sacrifices to their social lives to try and avoid the virus and continue to test negative.
Limiting the amount of people I can see, obviously. Our team has limited that number down to 1, so we're going to all try to see 1 person outside of the team.
Ohio goes on the road for games at Bowling Green and Eastern Michigan this weekend. They return to Athens on Thursday, February 25th, when Toledo comes to the Convo. For WEB Sports, I'm Michael Roth.
The volleyball team will need to adjust and mask up if they want to play out the rest of this season. Thanks, Michael. Speaking of the OU volleyball team, the Bobcats looked downright dominant in their back-to-back matches against Buffalo last weekend. On both Friday and Saturday, the Bobcats swept the Bulls in 3 sets to improve to 4-2 on the year. After falling to Bowling Green on Thursday, Ohio's next 2 matches have been postponed due to COVID-19 protocol. Ohio's wrestling team fell to Cleveland State 23-12 in their 2021 regular season finale this past Sunday. Even in the loss, senior Mario Guillen won his final match ever at the Convocation Center with a 9-6 win by decision. The Bobcats look to regroup heading into the MAC championships, which start on February 27th through the 28th. The Ohio women's basketball team celebrated the accomplishments of senior Cece Hooks before their game against Western Michigan Broncos this past Saturday, as she had just joined the 2,000-point club in their last game, and her scoring was crucial in this one. After being tied up at 31 going into the locker rooms, Hooks and the Bobcats caught fire in the second half. Hooks led the way with 29 points and was joined in double figures by 3 other Bobcats as they ran the Broncos out of the building, winning 74-52. After this past Wednesday's game got postponed, the next time the Bobcats can take the floor will be next Wednesday when they welcome the Bowling Green Falcons to the Convo. The MAC came out with news this past Wednesday with adjustments to the schedule for men's basketball. The Akron and Bowling Green home games have been rescheduled to February 23rd and 25th, while the road game against Bowling Green will be played on Friday, March 5th. Coach Jeff Bowles now tries to get his team back in shape after not playing a game since February 2nd.
Yesterday was our first day. We didn't have a full roster, but we did a lot of conditioning stuff, a lot of shooting, basic half-court defense stuff, just to try to, get their rust off and try to get the intensity back.
I'm Jacob Murray, and that's it for sports. Back to you, Anna.
Thanks, Jacob. All 5 seasons of Jim Henson's The Muppet Show are now on Disney+. The streaming service says this is the first time the 4th and 5th seasons will be released on home entertainment. Fans of Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, and Fozzie Bear can also watch The Muppet Movie and The Muppet Christmas Carol on Disney+, too. Now let's take one final look at your weather with Ben.
Tonight in Athens, 9 degrees, cloudy, humidity 81%, and winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. So again, that is very cold, and you will definitely want to make sure to wear something a little heavier or a lot heavier if you're going out at all tonight. And those clouds will still remain throughout the night, clearing up as we get into the morning. Hour by hour in Athens, 8 p.m., 22 degrees, cloudy, 10 p.m., 20 degrees, mostly cloudy, and 12 a.m., 17 degrees. Cold, but we see less and less clouds as the night goes on, but luckily no precipitation tonight. And here's a look at the 7-day forecast, and back to you, Anna.
Thanks, Benjamin. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Anna Azalian. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org. Have a great night.